Hey everybody, I'm back. You know me, I'm aspiring to be a blogger, but it's easier sometimes than writing just to get your feelings down on video, and I find it's a lot more interactive. So something that I was thinking about today that I've been talking about a lot lately. So I had a really impactful experience at the Accessible Yoga Conference in Santa Barbara last month. So it was amazing. It was very different from any conference that I'd ever been to. Usually when I go to a conference, there's lots of vendors with too small clothing, and everybody's really, physically fit and physically able, and all of the mainstream stereotypes show up to yoga. I don't usually see a whole lot of diversity at conferences. Case in point, when we went to the Yoga Journal conference last year, it was like super uncomfortable. I didn't see a lot of diversity there. So the beauty about this conference is I saw diversity in a different way. So often when we use the word diversity, we just use that as a catch-all phrase for Black people mostly. We sometimes even forget to include people of color when we're talking about diversity. So that's a multicultural experience, people of color. There's all kinds of different people of color. So maybe we can stop thinking about diversity as one thing, right? Like that diversity only means Black people. But diversity in this particular case at the Accessible Yoga Conference is seeing a lot of people in differently abled bodies and disabled bodies, for lack of a better term to use, that had all kinds of physical challenges, which was really amazing. And I never see that, in yoga conferences. We're always trying to do some kind of advanced asana or to find a new way to do advanced asana, taking handstand workshops, taking arm balances workshops. But this particular conference was really about making yoga accessible across the board. So I loved it. There's, lots of opportunities for growth in that area, and if you're going to get a chance to go out, you should go next year. Santa Barbara Accessible Yoga Conference, look it up. That's not what I'm here to talk about. The keynote speaker at that conference was Matthew Sanford, and he blew my mind. I knew like a little bit about him, and I follow him on social media, but I actually got to have dinner with him and talk to him, and it was really, really interesting. So one thing that he said in his keynote speech that has impacted the way I look at everything now is other people's perceptions of you that we internalize, right? Like an internalized oppression that we take on that ends up flattening our opportunities in life or flattening our own experience of our life. So sometimes these people's opinions are the best intended, but they look at you, your size, your color, your ability, your gender as a particular burden for you to move ahead in this world. For example, when I was growing up, my dad always used to say to me that I used to have to be smarter and more hardworking than the average white person to even be considered average, run-of-the-mill, right? So when I go to university, it's going to be infinitely harder for me. He was right, it's true, but how does that flatten my perspective of myself? What if I don't really feel smart? What if I don't feel like I'm articulate? What if I don't feel these things? So now there's this pressure to be twice as articulate as the average white person. Does this make any sense? So this is a whole idea of him flattening my perspective instead of saying, do the best you can with what you got, which is what I'm telling my kids, right? That's how I'm raising my kids. But Matthew Sanford talked about his disability, becoming a paraplegic at age 13, and how everybody kind of wrote him off, right? Out of good intentions, right? What should we do with him? Where should he go? What kind of life is he going to live? And then he internalizes, I'm never going to be able to do anything, and that my body is something that I need to overcome. So he writes a lot about that. He talks a lot about that. But that one was big. How am I flattening my children's lives by making assumptions about who they are and what they can achieve? I'm trying really hard not to do that. And what are some of those things that I've internalized and flattened my own life based on what other people have told me? So that's something else I'm thinking about. So my question to you today is, if you have the time to answer this question, when you see somebody who looks different from you with a disability, a different gender, a different color, what are some of the assumptions you make about their life, or maybe some of the feelings that we have that we project on them? And what does it mean to you to be either a yogi of color, a yogi in a different abled body, a yogi in a bigger body, a yogi in a different gendered body? What does that mean to you? And what would you like the world to know about you that sometimes gets lost in the assumptions we make about each other? Just food for thought today. Okay, have a great Sunday. I'll see you when I see you.